Hi, it's stress night in the sanctuary. Thank you for joining me. I forgot to turn my sound off. Just a minute. There we go. Welcome. I'm glad you could make it. And if you've done all your shopping for the holidays, good for you. I finished mine up today, but I'm barely doing anything, but I got out there and got my ingredients and everything. This is my favorite thing to make. I'm going to be making vanilla bourbon poached pears for dessert. So I can't wait. They're so good. So anyway, tonight we have a great healing in the sanctuary on stress. And I've got a number of topics for us. I'll tell you what they are, and then I'm going to get right to it because I've got 6 of them. So that breaks down to only about 5 minutes per each topic. So here's what we're going to get de-stressed on tonight. Stress at work, stress at home, stress in your relationships, stress in the body, where I'm going to address your adrenaline and cortisol levels, then stress in your finances, and then my gift to you is stress at the holidays. So that's what I'm going to wrap it up with tonight. All right, let me go ahead and set the energy for the healings, and then I'll get right to them. As we cleanse and heal the temple of the soul, may it be with the blessing of divinity that it shine its countenance upon us and bring us peace in body, mind, and spirit. Amen. Okay, so how I do the healings in the sanctuary is on a composite of everybody that's a member of the sanctuary. So that's how I'm going to be working on everybody all at once. All right, starting off tonight with our first category is stress at work. So let's take a look at that. Well, the first thing I see is a lot of gray energy, like lots of gray energy. And I heard, So let me dig in and start there. Just stress of being overworked and so many expectations, not enough time to execute all the tasks and expectations. And a lot of demand energy. And that's all in this gray, kind of mottled gray white energy. It's very thick. And it's starting to move. Then there's the energy of the stress of having to tippy-toe around bosses. The stress of office politics. That's a good one. Got to be careful what you say. Careful what you do. Always being watched over. I recognize all of this. I used to work in the corporate world, and I did not care for it. It was really hard as a psychic to work in the corporate world. Oh, back to more of stress of being given too many things to do with not enough time. There's more of that energy. And then also some stress of feeling that your value is not being recognized. In other words, that you're not getting paid what you deserve for the amount of stress that you go through at work. Then there's the stress of taking work home with you. And for those of you that work in your homes, that stress comes literally right into the home. That's a dark gray-green energy. And then that affects your body levels, which we're going to get into in just a little bit. Taking the stress of work home. Then there's also the stress of like wanting to get ahead at work and everything that gets the challenges that you might have in trying to get a promotion. There's stress in that. And stress in trying to get recognized also. Oh, this is a good one. The stress of dealing with other like coworkers' personalities. Excuse me. That's a very dark energy because in that is having to tolerate, well, I shouldn't even say tolerate, but having to deal with other people's beings and transmediumship at work. Without there being a control to regulate the energy of the business. And this is why it gets really difficult if you're sensitive to energy to be in the corporate world, is because nobody's really setting the energy for sensitive people. Good. All of that dark energy is coming out. That's good. Because once you say hello to that energy, then it started moving really quickly. And here's another stressor at work: not being able to run your energy the way that you would like to run it, particularly for spirits in female bodies, because a lot of businesses, in fact, most businesses, I would say the majority of businesses, the energy gets set at a male vibration. So it's a lot easier for a spirit in a male body to run their energy the way that they would want to when they're not at work, but not so much for a female. So there's stress in that, not being able to have your female creative energy flowing for yourself. Okay. That's a lot of stress. I mean, just the whole work scene. So that was a good clearing. I'm going to fill everybody in with gold on that particular topic. We covered a lot there. And I'm calling back your energy from your workspace, bringing that close to your body into a big gold sun so you can get that back into the body. All right, that was good. All right, next topic, stress at home. Let's take a look at that. Well, when you're done stressing at work and you go home, There's so many tasks that need to be done. That's the first thing I see, is the stress of everything that needs to get taken care of. And for some of you that live alone, that's a lot. That's a lot to manage. That's a lot to handle. There is some anger and resentment there. And I don't mean just for single people. I mean, there's anger and resentment at the amount of tasks that need to get taken care of. There's also the stress of congestion of people. If you live in if you have a family and there are other people living in the same dwelling, there's the stress of a lot of activity going on simultaneously. And with it comes the stress of noise and sound. Yeah, if you're sensitive to noise, just even like regular noise can cause you a lot of pain. I know this because one of my sisters is really sensitive to sound, and that can be really hard on a person and cause a lot of stress. Stress of like conflict in the household. The stress of dividing up tasks and responsibilities. The stress of not having enough space. Now that can be corrected. And I'm going to insert a little suggestion in here. That can be corrected with running energy. When you run energy, you are actually creating space for yourself within your own aura. And especially if you live in a family where there are other members in the household, I highly recommend running your energy. See, I had to get that in again. Just a shameless plug. Then there's also the stress of doing a lot of things at home and not being appreciated for it. Stress of being too tired to do things, but yet still needing to get them done. Okay. I'm going to wrap up the stress at home. Just finishing watching some dark energy get released. That again is the stress of dealing with other people's transmediumship, their ability to bring a being in and out. And so that gets very stressful if you're not in agreement to the beings that they're bringing in. Especially like roommate situations, that comes up. Yeah, the stress of sharing a space. Okay. There, that got cleared. Going to fill you in with the big gold sun on that topic. And I'm going to bring in some peace into the home space. It's a really nice orange gold tonight. Okay, that's a good one. All right, are you ready? Stress in relationships. That's the next topic. Here goes. Well, difference of opinions. And then that goes all the way into conflict. So I'm going to work both of those spaces. The difference of opinions, not just in how the relationship is run, but it can also be in differences in opinions on how to rear children, how to raise the kids. That can be a big stressor. Let me take a moment on that. There's a lot of anger in that, frustration. Even a little bit of hopelessness coming out where there's a lack of communication about it or the inability to communicate about it. And in partnerships, like couples, there's stress in the sexual space. And what I see is it has to do with differences in not just what partners want, but the frequency of how much sex to have. That's like a stressor. And yeah, that can be what's the word I'm looking for? Dispute is a little too harsh, but a disagreement. It can be a disagreement. So stress in the finances, but we're going to do that in just a minute. We're going to cover that whole topic. Stress in how to keep the space that you live in as a relationship. Like that's more like stress in how the energy gets set for the relationship. That's what I'm looking at. There's a lot of stress with telepathic communication. And where I see a lot of stress is in the telepathic channels, where there's a lot of communication going on, but not actually verbally being spoken out loud, but just passed back and forth. Then there's stress in relationships, like power struggles, like who's in control or who's trying to control the relationship. Stress of not being seen for who you are in the relationship. And stress of not feeling valued in the relationship. That's a whole lot of gray and green coming out. Yeah, that's a big one. Stress of not being recognized and not being valued. Then the stress of demands in the relationship and expectations. They kind of go together, but they're different, but they often go together. Okay. The stress of being left out. Oh, I just saw a great message. The stress of finding a relationship also. That's a good one. Like the stress of looking for a relationship. And maybe having difficulty with it. Yeah, that's a really good one because there's some hopeless energy in there that's coming out. So white. There's also some red and dark energy coming out of that. And then the stress of feeling like you might never find that person that you're looking for. There are a lot of stresses within that category of looking for a relationship, like stress of where to look for a relationship, stress of meeting people, and having to go through the vetting process, if you will, the stress of dating. Okay, somebody opened a whole can of worms. That was really a good topic. Thank you. So how this whole category is kind of resolving itself is by getting back to you and your original essence, because that's where you have your ability to mock things up for yourself the way that you intended to when you came onto the planet this lifetime. So that whole category ends with a really beautiful kind of a goldenrod gold. Like when you look at a field of dry wheat or something like that, and that's the color of the gold. So that was a really good one. Thank you. Okay. All right. The next one is stress in the body. And I'm going to ground your adrenaline and your cortisol levels. Your adrenaline is what kicks on when you are, it's like part of your fight or flight system, where if you get scared or something like that, then the adrenaline just kicks in really immediately. And that and the cortisol levels, when I look at everybody in the sanctuary, there's more than half those levels don't come down back to like homeostasis. They're jacked up a little. So that's why I wanted to ground them. So this is something that I haven't covered yet, but the stress of fear. So there's a lot of obviously different fears, but it really shows up in the adrenaline. Not just physical fear, but perceived fear. Good. Okay, that came down. And also the cortisol, sometimes that can remain elevated. And we spirits in female bodies know about that, because when the cortisol stays elevated, it puts extra pounds on us. So that's something that we definitely don't want. The energy in this is very thick, like pudding. So it's taking me a minute to get it grounded. It's kind of like pudding, but spongy, the cortisol. It reminds me of dumplings. Like I can remember my mom making dumplings, and that's sort of the consistency of the cortisol energy. I have no idea what it's like physiologically, but that's what it's like energetically. Okay, I cleared that and grounded that. So I'm going to fill your bodies in with gold. And then the next category is stress in your finances. Let's clean this out. Not enough money. It's like a mantra, not enough money, not enough money. So let's clean the stress of that out. And there's resentment that goes along with that because of feeling and believing that the amount of work that you do and what it takes to do what you do deserves to have um, a return that would give you the quality of living that you're looking for. So, that being said, there's also stress in how to figure out what to spend money on, where to spend it, where you can't spend it, where there's just not enough money to spend on things maybe that are necessary. And for couples and families, the stress of like determining how to spend that money and having to have conversations about it and compromise. There's a lot of stress in that. That's a red and a brown energy. Then there's the stress of what to do with your money once you have money. Do you hold on to it? Do you invest it? Do you spend it? And there's even a little bit of stress in how to enjoy money. Like there's guilt that shows up there when you go to enjoy your money. There's definitely guilt in there. Let's get that out of there. That is a black and a gray energy, and there's religious overtones to that. Then just regular demands for your money that cause stress. The stress of hardship in the money or the making of the money. Oh, this is a good one. The stress of owing money. And then the stress of debt. and or bankruptcy. And then I'll wrap it up with the stress of not knowing if you have enough money for your future, or maybe that's not the way to say it. The stress of planning money for your future. And a lot of different energies came out, but the way that this space is wrapping up is a really pretty blue. So the last energy that came out was almost like a midnight blue, but now it's like a really beautiful what color? Well, it's kind of like a sapphire blue. Yeah, so I want to end there because that looks beautiful. All right, let me fill you in on your finances space. And I'm going to fill that in with abundance. Okay. Now the last category is stress at the holidays. Since we have a holiday coming up, day after tomorrow, I thought this would be a good topic. Stress, a couple of things come up right away. Stress with travel. Getting to and from wherever it is you're going. There's a gray blue coming out of that, the travel space. And then the next one came up right away, and it's really kind of the meat of the matter, no pun intended, but stress with family and family dynamics. So I really wanted to get in there and ground that for you. I know the holidays are supposed to be a time of joy and giving and enjoying the family, but sometimes, there's disagreements. Sometimes there's too much drinking or something like that going on during the holidays, and it can be stressful. Sometimes you have to be around family members that you're maybe not fond of, or that I should say, I shouldn't say not fond of. What I really meant to say was that light you up. Family members that light up your pictures and make you uncomfortable and make it where you think that you don't want to be around them, but it's really their pictures and possibly their energy. A lot of brown energy is coming out. stress about what to say and maybe what not to say at a holiday get-together. And stress for some around drinking and alcohol. Stress of preparing the meal for those of you that are expected to prepare the meal or even a portion of the meal. Can be stress of purchasing the food for the meal, like if it's all falling on you, the expense of the meal. And I don't know if I said this already, but the stress of putting together the meal, putting together and like hostessing or hosting the whole event. So a lot of stress in that. And then the stress of cleaning up after everybody goes, if nobody offers to help. That's a good place to wrap up. Let me just make sure all the energy is cleared. Okay, that looks really good. Let me ask Supreme Being to give everybody a blessing. And a big gold sun is being brought in, like an orange gold. And there's peace and abundance and forgiveness in the blessing. I like that. All right. And that concludes the stress healing tonight. Let me go ahead and close out. May it be with the blessing of divinity that this stress healing in the sanctuary tonight be complete. Amen. Wow, that was great. You did such a good job releasing and clearing. And I'm going to spare you any announcements tonight other than that we'll get the flyer out after the holidays for December and all of December events. So I wish you all a very, very happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for taking the time to join me tonight in the sanctuary. I will see you next week. Good night. Have a good Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.